Mhm. Charlie, cut it out. Okay. So this is a posted meeting of the Administration of Finance Subcommittee of the Advisory Committee. We're doing a series of departmental budget reviews and some non-departmental budget reviews this morning, including the Advisory Committee budget. And since Dennis Doughty is here as chair of the advisory committee, maybe you ought to take that one first, and then we can see whether he's interested enough to stay for the balance of the meeting. For all of the budgets that we're going to talk about, I'm going to open the public hearing and keep it open. There being no members of the public here right now, should they come, casual typically works, and so we'll just leave it open for public comment. Dennis, it's your budget. What do you got to say?
Sure. Sorry, I got disconnected earlier, even though I have a gigabit internet connection. I don't know what's going on. Um, the um, the the advisory committee budget request for fiscal year 2027 um, is $32,022, a massive increase of $49. The As you all know, the bulk of that is the salary for our capable administrator, Lisa Porcher. There's a small amount that we have allocated for our food budget, so-called meals and receptions, a small amount allocated for supplies and for professional conferences. We tend to underspend on meals and receptions. We tend to overspend on professional dues and conferences from time to time. It depends. Um, and Neil suggested an aside conversation that with the budget pressures that face us now, we might want to actually take a serious look at rebalancing that a little bit, possibly reducing the meals and receptions budget and possibly increasing the professional dues by a lesser amount, thereby reducing our budget a small amount. I think that actually sounds like a good idea under the circumstances.
Okay, so we'll open up to questions from the subcommittee and then talk a little bit about what the amended budget might look like. If there are any questions from the subcommittee.
No, I mean, I think it's a good idea to do what Dennis suggested. I don't mind being the bearer of bad news to David Mark.
Yeah, David Mark is the primary consumer of the food budget, so therefore.
So for the AC budget, meals and receptions is recommended at $3,025. It is the education and training conferences line that
I would probably. Do you happen to know offhand, Lincoln, whether the MMA stuff tends to come out of professional dues or out of education when we submit for to send people to those conferences?
It's the same grouping. So other.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So just both just fall into that same general category.
Yeah.
Like I would probably, under the circumstances, imagine dropping the supplies budget by $750 or $1,000 and bumping up the other budget maybe $250. Just because that would still probably keep us within our what we've been historically spending and still give us a little bit of flexibility if we need it.
What about meals? Reducing it by
1,000.
some.
I was saying 1,000 because we've
to 2025.
we spent 2025 and we spent 900 so far in 26.
935. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't meet it in person as often now, so.
So if we were to drop the meals and receptions down to $2,025 rather than $3,025, I would still want to bump up the other one because we tend to overspend that a little bit, or we often I don't know how often we do, but we have definitely overspent it in the past.
So,
Yeah,
and
we have
reducing supplies, you said by 750 to 1,000, or was that
The
meals?
supplies budget the supplies category includes office supplies and meals and receptions. That's
Okay,
why I'm
understood.
saying.
Understood.
It's currently
okay, yeah.
$3,275,
Got
and I
it.
was imagining reducing that to $2,275 in
Okay,
total.
understood, yeah.
Take the other one up by
250, I
250.
would think maybe.
plus 250.
Yep.
Okay. Do any further discussion or?
Because if we need to, we can always pay for pizza out of the reserve fund later as an unexpected expense. Because it would be unexpected.
We should be fine.
Yeah.
Can we get a motion to that effect?
Sure. I move a recommendation of favorable action on the budget as described by Chair Gowdy. If you have the numbers, Neil, please feel free to insert them.
I think it'd be $31,272, if I get that right.
In the amount of $31,275.
Right, it goes down 750.
272 or whatever. Yes.
Yeah, it goes down and two. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Harry. By roll call, Jocelyn Murphy,
Yes.
Harry Boers,
Yes.
Neil Gordon votes yes. Thank you very much. Unanimous.
One thing I would like to add about the advisory committee's budget in general, which should not affect this budget at all, which is why I'm leaving it afterwards, is the topic has come up, and this is we're going to discuss this tomorrow night when we discuss the reserve fund transfer for the CLA report, is that there have been situations in which it has come up that some amount of money needs to be spent on some form of research to answer some question. You know, like the CLA audit was the obvious one, and when it first happened, that eventually, Melissa, came out of the select board budget or the town administrators
Professional services, which we're cutting in
Discretion.
27 as well.
Right,
Yes.
which we're cutting. And Chaz and I spoke to say, well, look, it's unfortunate that, you know, we do have these pressures that come up, either initiated by us or initiated by some other department. And we're all going to have to accept that if there's enough pressure for one of those things, the only real source for that is going to be the reserve fund if we need to spend that kind of money.
Yeah, we're cutting all our squish, essentially.
And I think that there's a decent chance that at some point, you know, in the next, you know, maybe not this fiscal year, but maybe next fiscal year's budget, who knows, there will be a need similar to the CLA report where we're going to need $25,000 to $50,000 to hire somebody to investigate something. And previously it wasn't that hard to find that money, and it's going to be very hard this year.
Yep.
Good thing we saved the $750
Yeah. Well, that'll go into
at a time.
veteran services, you know, when
It'll go somewhere.
it'll go somewhere.
It'll go somewhere, whatever that was. Well,
Right.
okay, select board next.
Yep. So the select board budget essentially is pretty much level funded. It's just a slight increase of 3,590, which essentially is funding contractual increases for personnel. We are reducing professional services by 9,372. We've used this money in the past. We have department division head meetings on every other month where we like to bring in facilitators to help kind of improve the professional development for staff. We've done sessions on giving and receiving feedback on you know, management practices and things like that. So we would not be able to do that as frequently as we would like to be able to do. But that is essentially pretty much a level funded budget. We will have ARPA rolling off next year. So the ARPA funded positions are only on for half a year. And so that is part of what you're seeing in terms of the changes in the offsets as well.
What was the amount, Melissa, you mentioned for personnel?
For the growth in personnel,
Yeah,
12,357, which is 1%.
so what is the total budget?
Total budget is 1,065,284.
Yeah, the percentage change overall rounds to 0. So. Are we good? Do we want to move this as printed in the budget book?
I'll make that motion. Favorable action for the
I'll second.
budget recommendation in the book, yeah.
I'll second.
I have a question, actually, because I
Sure.
don't remember, because I will confess to have not read the warrant articles in detail at this point, but I know that there's a discussion about select board stipends that's going to come up at town meeting. And what I don't remember is, on the off chance that that were to pass, what fiscal year was it proposed to take
It's
place?
specifically proposed for 28.
Okay, thank you.
But it's also a non-binding resolution as well.
You know, no, I understand. I just,
Mhm.
Yeah, the petitioner intentionally put it in so it wouldn't have any budget impact this year, and we'd have, you know, plenty of time to somehow plan for it. Okay, so it's moved and seconded in the amount recommended. Jocelyn Murphy,
Yes,
Harry Boers.
Yes,
I'll vote yes. That's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Where do you want to go next?
But take in debt and interest.
Debt and interest, all right. 1 minute.
I think it's not necessary to invite town council to ask what happens if we don't appropriate the bond payments.
Yeah, so the debt and interest budget is going up 12% next year. Most of that is related to the debt exclusions, for a total budget of 49,365,313. The things that we are looking to go out to, for this spring are roof repairs for $1.4 million. And then the rest is fire station renovations, $65 million associated with that. That's the total budget for the fire station renovation project. Then we are also looking to borrow what might be the remainder of Pierce. I think we just have to have more conversations with the building department about the timing and whether or not we're ready to go out for the full amount of what's left on the authorization, or whether or not we need to do a ban to maybe delay that a little bit. But at this point, what we've got currently budgeted for is 77 million that we would be borrowing for to round out the project.
So what would the advantage be of doing a ban?
So I think because we don't know the timing of what we're going to get back from MSBA, we don't want to borrow too much. If we borrow too much, we can always apply it to another debt exclusion related project. So obviously we've got a couple more rounds in the fire station renovation projects that we could slide that over to. It's just more trying to keep our books cleaner. I think that might be a better way to go.
Well, that's always a good reason to do it. Okay.
So-
And my other question is, yeah, generally when we look at metrics and we look at debt load, like per capita debt load, in terms of what's under the Prop 2.5 levy, we always meet the metrics are actually kind of liberal, I would say. When we take into account debt exclusion projects, that kind of breaks down a bit. And I'm wondering if we know where we stack up to other municipalities in this Commonwealth.
Yeah, so we haven't, I think we haven't, with the data that we have on that might be a year or two old, Lincoln.
Yeah, so
Um,
the state's Division of Local Services under the Department of Revenue tracks that, but it does always lag a little bit. So I'm gonna seek right now. I'm looking right now, and I'll be able to tell you in a moment the
Okay.
most recent data, but it almost certainly is only through fiscal year 24 what the state has posted, but we'll find out.
Okay. Well, it still gives us a sense. It may
Yep.
not capture Pierce, I suppose. That might be on the cusp.
the beginning of Pierce, we've done a
Yeah.
couple of rounds for Pierce, so.
Yeah. But I mean, I suspect we have to be pretty high up there, but I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know
Mhm.
if we're
We're up there.
way over on the other side of the fence, or if other municipalities are kind of, sweating along with us in terms of the constraints of 2.5.
Well, I think they're about to catch up, or at least, like Lexington, I think they just got their debt exclusion approved for a $500 million high school. So I do think that there are other communities that may have built in the same time period of us, and the cost of building has definitely gotten more expensive. So
Yeah.
I keep saying the silver lining of all the projects that we've done is that we've built them in a low interest rate environment. And so
Yeah.
as much as it is painful to, absorb a lot of that, I do feel like our timing has been pretty good.
Well, I recall when essentially money was free, so to speak. Kevin Lang always saying, just borrow everything. Don't use your free cash. It's never going to get cheaper to borrow than it is now. So, yeah, the good old days.
Yes, put the replacement cost in the annual report. It'll make everybody feel better.
Yeah.
Melissa, of the debt and interest recommended appropriation, how much is not yet contracted, so not yet borrowed, and therefore has an estimated rate? And then there's
So-
what the part B to that question is.
Yep, so that's the 1.4 for the roof repairs, and then 18.5 for the fire stations and 77 for Pierce.
Okay, so we're at 100 million roughly. So that is to be borrowed at a rate to be determined.
So assuming under the debt exclusions, I've got a 5.25% assumption for those. And then for the roofs, I've got a 4% assumption for the roofs.
Okay, and about where is the current market?
Lincoln, I think you might have a better handle on where.
Yeah, we're so I mean it's been volatile is the answer, but
Yeah, I know.
yeah, but I mean I'm not sure where it is in the last month per se, but I would think I think it's safe to say we're going to be below 4. I feel confident saying that, but how much below 4 I think is it's hard to say at this moment.
All right, likely below 4 gives you roughly 125 basis points on the big piece, which is the Pierce piece,
Mhm.
right? Which would make for a comfortable appropriation,
We
right?
true it up
Without,
anyway, so there wouldn't be any impact on the budget because essentially we're going to need to revise the budget down because its revenue and expenditures need to match for the debt exclusion.
right? So it's a debt exclusion piece anyway.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so the smaller
There's
piece is likely to come in a little bit below the estimate.
Yeah, and that would fall to free cash like it normally does.
Okay,
But again, to Melissa's point, that is a small fraction, right? Because the vast majority of it is excluded, right?
okay, so the the risk that we borrow at more than the estimate, as unlikely as that might be, is not an appropriation risk.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, because essentially what will happen is once we do our borrowing, we will use the budget amendment in the fall to true up the numbers. That's historically what we've done. If we've gotten the information in time for the budget vote, we'll roll it in. And then if not, we'll wait and do that in November with the budget amendment because we need to make sure that the revenues and expenditures match for the debt exclusions.
Right, but we're not going to be stuck up against the 2.5 cap with or without the override.
No.
Okay.
So to partially answer your question, your earlier question, Harry, so we are, again, I was unfortunately correct. The most recent data that the DLS has shared, Division of Local Services has shared, is based on fiscal year 2024. And they measure it in their data bank reports as a percent of budget. So general fund debt, we were in fiscal year 24, 23rd out of 351 municipalities, 9.42% of the debt. That's general fund debt. The reports have changed. I'm looking for total debt, and I haven't found it yet, but when I do, I'll let you know.
Yeah, total debt's the one that's probably
Yeah,
more
understood.
important.
And
Yep.
they've changed their report, so but we'll find it.
Okay, great. Yeah, just when you have it, I'm just curious if you can just email it over to me.
Sure.
All right, are we ready for a motion on debt and interest as recommended?
Sure, I'll move it.
Would anyone
Second.
like to second it? Moved and seconded, Jocelyn,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. Next on the list, unclassified.
Can I share my screen? There's a lot of moving parts here, so it might be easier just to walk through my screen.
Sure, whatever you got.
All right, you need to enable me to share though.
Okay, do I know how to do that? Maybe I do.
If you right click on my name and make me a co-host, I'll be able to share.
It's in here somewhere. Make co-host. Confirm.
Okay. So first bucket here. So accounting/audit services. Two different things in this bucket. The first is the cost of our annual audit. The second is professional services, and this is what we were just talking about with Dennis. So the town administrator's professional services line item that we have put here historically, we're reducing. So that's what you see, that 40,000 drop there.
So Melissa,
yeah.
I understand we haven't had an audit yet, though.
The 24 audit is done. We actually did just get that. We are
Oh,
looking.
Yep.
beautiful.
Yes, it's been a substantial delay. We've been working very closely with our CBIZ, which is our auditing firm.
Okay.
You know, a lot of hiccups with the audit. Glad we finally have it. We're trying to schedule a meeting of the audit committee to go through it. And then we've got to figure out what we're going to do with 25, because that obviously, you know, here we are in March. We would have been well underway with the 25 audit, but at this point,
Yeah.
so trying to figure out what we want to do in terms of, you know, there's a limited amount of firms to engage with. So yeah, Lincoln,
Okay.
I don't know if you want to add anything on that.
Well, I'm
No,
glad it's done. My concern was that the select board was going to walk into proposing an override, and we hadn't had an audit in a couple of years, so that's good. Is there an executive summary that we can get?
Yeah, so we can definitely send the financials to you. Yep.
Yep, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Let's see, the MMA dues, we've got a 3% increase in there. That's for our Mass Municipal Association townwide dues. We actually were able to bring our estimates for property insurance down by $40,000. So you see a drop there. The reduction you're seeing in the contingency fund, you'll recall that last year, while we were trying to figure out the school fiscal 26 budget situation, we had reduced a special appropriation for the Lincoln School grounds and put that money in the contingency fund, wondering whether or not we were going to need to use that to establish a special education contingency fund, and kind of holding that as a potential adjustment that we would be making this year. In talking with schools, it sounds like that is not something that we're looking to establish. So we don't, that money is not available in fiscal 27. So that's why you see the drop. I will let you know that I am keeping my eye on those funds because, you know, snow and ice is taking a pretty substantial hit to the reserve fund. So I think that there's a need probably on the town side to shore up some accounts. Group insurance, I'm still keeping an eye on. I'm also starting to monitor unemployment as well. And then obviously we've got the fire situation as well. So I do think that in fiscal 26, we may have a recommendation with the budget amendment to utilize those funds, but at least, you know, for now, you know, that's the change in the contingency fund as well. No change in the town meeting account. Vote tech, we've had level funded at 15,000, and it kind of, just in case someone does decide to enroll in a vocational school. And then we have the recommendations around the use of free cash for the liability fund, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and then putting $3.5 million in the stabilization fund. So you can see overall the growth in both the categories combined, 12,213,211. I'll stop sharing, see if you want to ask questions.
And the liability fund is just filling it back up.
Right, because we had the substantial draw from the school department claim and then the police department claim as well. So, and that will be ongoing. We'll have the liability fund will require some additional free cash above the norm for, you know, the foreseeable future.
Questions? Would we like a motion?
Sure,
Sure.
I'll move favorable action.
I'll second it.
Okay, in the amount of $12,213,211. Moved and seconded. Jocelyn?
Yes.
Harry?
Yes.
I will vote yes. That is unanimous once again. Do we have a favorite next stop?
Non-appropriated seems to be the next on the list.
Non-appropriated.
Yep, so this is also pretty uneventful here. I was very shocked to see that our county assessment is level funded. I'm kind of holding my breath and hoping that it stays that way, but sometimes, we do get some variation when the other versions of the House Ways and Means or Senate Ways and Means budgets come out. Then we have, our MBTA assessment. That's usually a pretty large one, so that's a 1.3% increase. And then we have other items like the cherry sheet offsets, which go directly to the libraries, our tax overlay. So overall, non-appropriated, even though town meeting doesn't vote on it, we just kind of present it as, these are items that are in the budget. 10.792 million, a drop of 7.5%. So.
Okay. And the town actually has some discretion, not the town capital T. A portion of the town has some discretion in the tax overlay. It's just not coming from the 6th floor.
So we essentially, we try and target 1% of the levy. We're at 0.7 right now for the overall budget. When we get new growth that might be above and beyond what we budgeted, that's essentially where we would park it until we're ready to raise it the following year. So that's generally the practice.
Okay.
All right, ready for a motion, Neil?
So no motion, no recommendation.
Right, town meeting is not
We
required
can-
to vote on that because it's not appropriate.
I'll move favorable action for a favorable recommendation on the in the amount of $10,792,034.
Take it or leave it. Harry, do we have a second?
Sure, I'll second.
Okay, Jocelyn,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes, even though we have no choice.
All right.
We don't have a choice to pay all the debt service either, but we still vote on it.
That's true.
Tradition. Decorum.
Well, as we confirmed a year ago, and I'm sure it's still true, just shake your head, yes. The only risk, we owe what we owe, right? The risk is that the appropriation is wrong because the calculation is wrong. And so you still have this independent verification of the calculation of debt and interest.
Yes, we still reconcile between us. For sure.
Okay. Do we have more? I thank you.
Actually,
As always, some of us will see you tomorrow night. I'm conflicted. But I suspect I'll be seeing you otherwise.
Okay.
Lincoln, I'll let you know whether we made the cut or not.
Sounds good. Thank you, Neil.
And if not, we'll find an hour.
That sounds great. Thank you. Thank you.
So tomorrow night, this comes before the full committee. So we're
Correct.
not going to have a specific report, but basically just walk through it. And I'm assuming Melissa will be there because she really is our,
I will
You
be
know.
there.
Yeah,
she's our Sherpa when we're.
yeah, I think what we've determined so Jocelyn is ready to give the report. I'll do the minutes
Okay.
after the after the fact.
The report is going to be agreeing with what Melissa said.
Yes, I think
But
that
you'll send me the minutes anyway, Neil? Before
I
tomorrow?
will. I probably won't have them before the meeting. But I can, if you're interested, I'll get you the link to the recording so that you can just stay up all night and watch it over and over.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty straightforward. It's in the book.
Yeah.
But for the major overhaul of the advisory committee budget,
Right.
I think it's fairly and reasonably presented, in relatively small departments, not inconsequential, but I don't suspect there's going to be lots of controversial discussion at the full AC.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it, it's just incumbent upon us to pay it. suppose the only thing people could go after are reserve funds, but sort of self-defeating, especially the way we've been borrowing. But
You don't, right, you don't save any money by budgeting or not budgeting the reserve fund. You spend what you spend what you spend.
mhm.
Um, okay, I'll see. We're back on whoever can make it. We're back on Wednesday for IT.
Okay.
We don't, what about unpaid bills? Is that tonight? Or has Lincoln given his report?
Well, the warrant's not
No, so
executed yet.
unpaid bills, the warrant article, we've not scheduled
Okay.
the hearing for.
So, okay. So as long as people are here, I just quick question on unpaid bills, not these specific ones. But we ran into this last year where there were unpaid bills in a department. And I know the schools before had run into difficulty with paying their bills and sort of even knowing they had them, as did another town department. Is there a through string through all of the departments that helps reconcile that sort of thing? Like bills in, cash out?
So
Or
we try very hard to educate
Yeah.
departments on that, what they should be doing to get all their bills in the door. We have a year-end meeting where we bring all the AP clerks together, talk about the timelines, talk about how they should be calling their vendors. And then we also have meetings with each department to make sure that they are on top of it all. But these things always kind of come slip through the cracks, and a lot of times it happens when there's turnover.
Yeah.
Where somebody new, didn't know about a bill, and somebody,
Right.
so that
And that's understandable. I was just curious if there was something in the town's platform in whatever software you folks are using that everybody inputs it into the same place on that platform. That there's sort of one repository. That doesn't mean that people may not put it in, or somebody new comes in, or what happens, or somebody's out sick for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like if I order something, I should be telling Kate, and Kate should be setting up a purchase order for me. So if I go to a conference and I forget to tell Kate and the invoice comes in, that's when these things can happen.
Okay, but she has a place that hypothetically everybody's putting it into the same place within the software.
As
So
long as
that
I let her know,
I'm
she should
assuming
be
that
setting up.
Lincoln's
Yeah.
department has
Yeah.
to ultimately see where it all comes in and see if
Yeah, I mean, so we do go, so to Melissa's point, we strongly encourage, help, train departments to go out, in the last few months of each fiscal year, to go out to every single vendor in writing and say, do you have any outstanding bills? And if you do, we can't, we are, we must have them by X date in order to pay
Right.
for them. And then there's at the same time a routine process where we're going through and closing down purchase orders when they're done, right? So that we know that this is complete, and so the purchase order is closed. If still going through that process, and the entity doesn't tell us about this bill, but it is a legitimate bill, we still kind of have to pay it, right? I mean, there are
Right.
times where we'll say, no, we're not paying this, but but the most likely outcome
Yeah.
is we pay it, and maybe that prompts the town to rethink the relationship with that vendor, right? Because they weren't responsive.
Well, I'm thinking less about the vendor, and I agree.
Yeah.
If we use a service or we buy something, we should pay for it, whatever happens with the bill. But
Mhm.
I was just curious if there was sort of a singular mechanism that everybody uses that when they pay the bill or request the payment for the bill, that assuming that, our staff is inputting it, that that then you're able to see it.
Yeah, I mean, there is insofar as the purchase order system, and whether or not the purchase order is completely exhausted or not. I mean, there's no particular system per se for unpaid bills. I mean, but we do have this common mechanism of reaching out to all vendors, right? And having departments do that to see if there is anything outstanding. But I'm not sure how I I'm not sure anyone has come up with a system that's full safe, in terms of making sure that we never have an unpaid bill. You know, I'm not sure how we design that, to be honest with you.
Having spent, much of my corporate career on the for-profit and non-municipal side, right? Unpaid bills are not something you worry about. It's the vendor who worries about the unpaid bills. And, if they have a good accounts receivable department, they reach out and say, hey, I've got this unpaid bill, right? And you either dispute it or you don't. But if the vendor's not willing to do the work, you don't search.
Yeah, no, I know there was a rash before. We haven't
so-
run into it in a while, but for years we would get bills sent by vendors that were not legitimate bills. And they would just sort of flood, hoping that, something would stick and somebody look, oh, we didn't pay it and pay it off.
Ooh,
Subscriptions.
that's very concerning. I am sure
Yeah.
we're not doing that now.
Yeah.
That's because those are fraudulent bills and we should absolutely stop doing business with those vendors, right?
Yeah.
But
Well, some of these were fake vendors, but they
okay.
were just coming through.
Okay.
It was
Yeah, I mean, and I think, the fail safe for that is having a really strong, robust purchase order system, right? Because if we're gonna get a an invoice and nobody ever set up a purchase order, that's gonna raise a flag for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll by the way,
We'll get to it when
talk,
we get to it. Yeah, I just
we'll see if
figured
we
people were
can't
here.
talk.
I was just more about the mechanics.
We'll see if we can't talk the public hearing and meeting on the unpaid bill in with the departmental review. If it's not been posted, which I suspect it's not, we'll do it all at the same time and be done with it.
Good idea. But
That'd be-
Lincoln, would you mind taking a peek at that email and letting me know if that's something I should pay or not?
I didn't actually receive any. Can you try sending it again?
Did you look in spam? Because I
I
found it in my
did. I'm sorry. I did, and I didn't see it. But maybe here. Why don't I type in the chat if that's okay? But maybe you didn't get my last name correct, which is common. So
L. Heineman, HEINEMAN at brooklinema.gov.
you got it. But I checked spam and everything. Can you try sending it again? Because it
Yep,
didn't look
I will. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
Yep.
Well, if there's nothing else, I'm going to adjourn myself. Not that I don't love
Thank
the
you.
company
I
of all of
will-
you, but I have some other things calling
I
me.
am going to end the
see you
meeting, stop the
tomorrow.
recording, and I won't click the leave button until everybody's done chatting.
All right.
Thanks, Harry.
Bye, all. See you tomorrow.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.